If you want to learn how to mix in Audacity, you're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a simple step-by-step mixing workflow so you can balance your tracks, play sounds in the stereo field, apply basic processing, and then render everything into a final mix. Whether you're working on a podcast, voiceover, music project, or a simple multi-track recording, this method will help you get a cleaner, more polished result much faster. And if this tutorial helps you out, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more easy software guides just like this. All right, let's jump in. First, open your project in Audacity and take a moment to listen through the entire session. Before touching any effects, your first job is leveling, which just means getting the volume of each track under control. Press play and listen for the loudest track in the project. This is important because one track being too loud can throw off the whole mix, while one track being too quiet can get buried. Once you identify the track that stands out the most, go to the track header and find the gain slider. This is the slider marked with minus and plus signs. Drag it gently left to lower the volume or right to raise it until it sits better with the rest of the session. As you're balancing the tracks, keep your eye on the playback meter at the top of Audacity. You want to make sure the green bars are not getting too close to 0.2. If the meter starts pushing too high, that means your mix may be getting too loud and could clip or distort later. A good mix should have room to breathe, so always leave some headroom while you're adjusting levels. Take your time here, because leveling is the foundation of everything else in the mix. Once the volumes feel more balanced, the next step is panning. Panning is what gives your mix width and space by placing sounds more towards the left or right speaker. In the track header, look for the pan slider labeled L and R. If you want a sound to stay in the center, like a lead vocal, leave it centered. If you have guitars, backing vocals, or instruments that you want to separate from each other, move them slightly left or right. For example, you might pan one guitar about 30% left and another guitar about 30% right. That creates a wider stereo image and makes the mix sound less crowded. The key with panning is subtlety. You usually do not want everything slammed hard to one side, unless you are going for a very specific effect. Instead, use panning to create space, so each element has its own place in the mix. This makes the overall project feel cleaner and easier to listen to. Now that your levels and placement are in a better spot, it's time to start processing the audio. Processing means using effects to shape the sound and make each track sit better in the mix. Click on the track you want to work on first, then go up to Effect, choose Volume and Compression, and click Compressor. Compression helps even out the loud and quiet parts of a track, which is especially useful for vocals, podcasts, and recordings with inconsistent volume. It can make the audio sound more controlled and professional without needing constant manual volume changes. After that, you can move on to EQ. Go back to the Effect menu, then choose EQ and Filters, and click Filter Curve EQ. This is where you can reduce muddy low frequencies or boost clarity if a track sounds dull or boxy. For example, if a voice sounds too boomy, you can cut some of the lower frequencies. If it sounds too buried, you can add a little presence in the clearer range. The goal is not to over-process the audio, but to clean it up just enough so everything works together better. A really important thing to remember is that mixing in Audacity is easier when you keep each element on its own track. That way you can control each sound separately, instead of trying to fix everything all at once. This is one of the biggest advantages of working with multiple tracks. You get more flexibility, more control, and a much better final result. Once you're happy with the levels, panning, and effects, it's time for the final rendering step. Press Ctrl+A to select all of your tracks. Then click the Tracks menu, choose Mix, and select Mix and Render. This combines all of your separate tracks into one final stereo track. It's the step that turns your project from individual parts into a complete mix, ready for export. If you want to keep your original tracks editable, there's another option you can use instead. Choose Mix and Render to New Track. This creates the finished mix down on a new row while keeping all of your original tracks above it. That's a great option if you think you may want to make changes later, because you can preserve your separate edits and still hear the final version. And that's the basic workflow for how to mix in Audacity. Start by leveling your tracks, use panning to create space, apply compression and EQ where needed, and then mix everything down into a final render. Once you get comfortable with this process, your projects will sound much more balanced and professional. If this video helped you, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if you want more Audacity tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.